Be talking about aerospace opportunities now. Now there is like endless aerospace opportunities in Civil Patrol. There is so many more that I'm going to have time to talk about. I'm just going to talk about some of the like well-known or like easier to get into ones that I'm sure a lot of you have heard a little bit about of already. Today, so we're going to be going over more specifically. First of all, we're going to talk about orientation flights, and then we'll go into flight training as far as like how far you can go in the Civil Air Patrol program and how you can pay for that. Drone flying, National Blue Beret, and Cyber Patriots. And just so you all know, because of everything that's happened with COVID, there was a limited amount of information available for the National Cadet Special Activities. You'll hear me refer to a National Cadet Special Activity multiple times throughout this video as an NCSA. Right, and a little bit about me. I have been in the program for nearly 4 years. I am currently my squadron's cadet deputy commander and absolutely loving it. And I did actually complete my private pilot certificate through CAP on the Wing Scholarship. So I know a little bit about aerospace and I really enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. So first we're going to go into orientation flights. I'm sure all of you, most of you, if not all, have already heard this already. When you join the program, you get 5 free powered flights and 5 free glider flights. So the difference between those is that a powered flight is going to be in either a Cessna 172 or a 182. That would be a Cessna 172 would be the plane that's in this picture here, and then a 182 is really similar, but they're actually considered a performance plane, so they do come with special ratings and they go a little bit faster. Pretty cool. And then typically also with the Cessnas, you will fly either a G1000, which is going to have a glass cockpit, so you'll be looking at a bunch of screens and there will be a few dials to standby, or we usually refer to it as a six pack. That's kind of pilot jargon for analog dials. And then the gliders, typically glider flights will be during the summer, unlike power flights, which can go throughout the year as long as the weather is good. Glider flights we usually just do in the summer because you need a grass strip to land on, and they rely on what's called a thermal. And thermals, what happens there is it's actually like the tow plane will pull you up off of the runway, and then you'll get up to a few thousand feet, you'll drop the tow line. There's a little lever that the glider instructor usually lets whoever is flying within the cadet pull it. It's pretty cool. And then since there is no engine in a glider, you literally just kind of glide around. And when you find a thermal, it's a rising column of hot air. And you'll sit there and circle around that until you gain some altitude and you go off and you can do stalls, you can do a lot of things that you can do in a normal airplane. In a glider, you just have to be more cognizant of the altitude that you have left. And it's really neat because unlike a powered flight, when you're in a glider, it's dead silent, really smooth, pretty neat. And then they do, like I mentioned, rely on a plane to get them up in the air. These are called tow planes. They're a little bit different than what you might normally see being like flying for a powered flight. A tow plane will have what's called a climb prop on it, and what that is it's meant to go a little bit faster. They run at higher RPMs, so that just helps get it up off the ground to get the glider up there. And like I mentioned, the 10 total flights that you'll get when you join are free. So Air Patrol wants to get people interested in flying. They're trying to give as many opportunities as they can for to get excuse me. They're giving as many opportunities as they can to get cadets up in the air. So it is expense free for the cadets and the pilots flying. And then as far as flight time goes, if you're interested in starting flight training, orientation flights are great because it gets you into the plane and you get to kind of get a feel for it, decide if this is something you really want to do. And then if you do your orientation flights with a CFI or a certified flight instructor, then you can actually count those toward instructional flight time. We'll move into flight training now. So I am a little bit biased. I did get my private through the program and I'm currently working on my instrument rating, and I think it's pretty cool, I'm not gonna lie. So with flight training, what is it? It's flying at low rates with volunteer instructors. So in Civil Air Patrol, all of our instructors actually volunteer. If you were to start flight training at like a college or just privately on your own, you would have to pay $60 to $100 for an instructor, and we were really lucky in the program to have them volunteer. And then additionally, I know that at Minnesota State University Mankato, their planes rent at about $200 per hour. whereas the Civil Air Patrol plane at my squadron right now is 33 an hour. So the costs are significantly lower because of the funding from the Air Force, so you pay for a minimal fee with the plane and then fuel as a student. And usually flight training will be towards powered or glider flight ratings. I know it does depend a little bit on if there's an instructor available, but if you're really interested in flight training, you should reach out to any pilots you have at your squadron or just start asking around and try to figure that out. And then the costs do vary a little bit per model. The Cessna 182s are a little bit more expensive, I believe, than the 172s, but only by a few dollars, and it is the same for glass cockpits. But again, it's not by very much, just a small difference. And then remember, the instructors do volunteer, so we do not, as students, have to pay for instructor fees. And then what I mentioned before, I completed my private on the Wing Scholarship, and the Wing Scholarship is really unique because the application is actually focused so that they're trying to select cadets who have put a lot into the program and that are going to continue to put things into the program and their time and effort as they get through their private, and it's not like they're just there for the money. And so the application for that is kind of lengthy, but it's really not too bad. It'll ask questions like, have you held staff positions at your squadron? Have you been on the cadet advisory council? You get a ton of points for having good grades. Just things like that. And it is an NCSA, or excuse me. So the Wing Scholarship, if you get it from, and it is if you have started flight training and you've completed your FAA written test, which goes towards the private, you do get a huge advantage for that. So if you're looking into flight training, you've always already started, highly recommend the Wing Scholarship. It's a great way to get your private paid for. And then there is Flight Academy. So this is an NCSA, a National Cadet Special Activity, and I'm not sure what the details are right now with everything happening with COVID. But typically the cadets would apply, and if you're selected, you get to spend 1 week in Mankato, and the purpose of it is to get you to the point of solo in a glider or powered flight. So Flight Academy is typically for people that haven't quite started flight training or they've done very little. Great opportunity nonetheless. Then we have drone flying. So this is usually a little bit more typical, or this is a little bit more specific to a squadron. There is a ready to fly quadcopter STEM kit that is available for order to each squadron. So if your squadron is looking at getting a STEM kit, this would be one where you could learn to fly drones. And that is something that like each specific squadron would have to like order and then train like for themselves, but that would be a really great thing if you wanted to like ask about that or advocate for it. That would be a way to get like drone flying in your squadron. And then once you start flying with drones, just like when you fly an airplane, you would log time with that drone, and you're actually able to log time with any drone you fly, no matter how big or small it is. If it's a drone, you can log that time. And the purpose of drone flying is like, I am biased, but any flying to me is really fun. So it is enjoyable to do, but it does have a purpose. There is a reason. It's used in emergency services or like reconnaissance, being able to see up in the sky and look at what's going on. Similar to an airplane where there will be people up in the sky trying to see if they can find anything, look for downed aircraft if it comes to it. Right, now we'll go to National Blue Beret. So National Blue Beret is an opportunity to participate in one of the few U.S. Air Force assigned missions that is given to Civil Air Patrol. National Blue Beret is an opportunity for cadets to go out to the Oshkosh National Air Show and actually help run it. So you would help with safety, like marshaling aircraft, things like that. If you've ever worked at an air show, it would be really similar to that, but on a much larger scale. And I personally have helped at the Mankato Air Show. It's been an absolute blast. It's really neat to see all the aircraft come in. I have not attended National Blue Beret, but it is a really interesting opportunity. Um, and applying for National Blue Beret would be on the National Cadet Special Activities page. It's typically held in July because that's when the Oshkosh Air Show is. However, there isn't very much information on it right now. And if you're interested in learning more about it, I do have links below in my slides notes so you can come back and look at those later. And then lastly, I'm going to move on to Cyber Patriots. This is another thing that is like based at specific squadrons. So if your squadron has a Cyber Patriots team and you're interested, you should definitely reach out to them. It's a great opportunity for cadets to get involved in cybersecurity, learn more about computers. And what's really nice about Cyber Patriots is that you don't need to have any previous like computer knowledge. It is more convenient and it might make skills like translate easier and learning would be easier for you, but it's not required by any means at all. And the teams are, they usually consist of, so there will be one coach, 5 team members, and an alternate. And a lot of squadrons, like my squadron, has a high school and a middle school team, which will each compete in separate divisions. It is really competitive, so if you want a way to find a competition out of using computers, this is definitely the one stop shop for you. And the requirements are really low. It's just a few computers and an internet connection, nothing more, nothing less. A lot of the programs work with Windows or PC. And I know that a lot of squadrons also have additional laptops or computers. If you don't have your own, they will most likely be able to provide some. So this is one of those things too that if you like are interested in Cyber Patriots, definitely go home and like inquire at your squadron and just see what you can find out. It's a really great program. All right, thank you. If you have any questions about anything that I covered, you can email me. Other than that, I do have links to most of my sources in the descriptions for the slides. So if you want to come back and look at those, feel free. Thank you.